Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel, to another midweek piece of content, because we don't play midweeks anymore, and we might as well get used to it for next season. Obviously, now Champions League semi-finals, I can accept not being involved. Of course, we would love to, but the semi-finals, I'm sure I've said this plenty of times. My aim is always at least the quarters. Anything above that is a bonus, because anything after that is also partly luck of the draw. If we had Inter side of the draw, we might be in the final, no matter how dreadful we are. Because when I watched that semi-final yesterday, if that wasn't two teams from the same city and two teams that share the same stadium and had an outrageous atmosphere, everyone would have said that was the worst Champions League semi-final they have seen ever, because the footballing quality was absolutely dreadful, in my opinion. Now, maybe I've slightly exaggerated, but it wasn't great. But hey, here we are. Not much to discuss other than who Chelsea should actually get rid of this summer and who we should keep. But, we'll see what we have more of by the end of this. And of course, when I initially planned the stream, I was like, what are we going to talk about today? I was talking to Pies, I was like, not really much news, mostly what's been covered the last few days where I wasn't really available to stream, but it's been covered by most people. And then, out of the blue, about 70 trillion pieces of news on the day. Ivan Toney's ban, which of course we will get into. Pochettino apparently being open to working with Romelu Lukaku. He's now in London. Whether that means he will sign the contract and potentially get announced over the next couple of days, we shall wait and see. As well as, of course, Pochettino's transfer targets. Before getting into the tier list, I want to kind of do the tier list as the main thing. So I want to do a bit of news first. Bertram, you've not managed to be quite available for a stream in a hot minute. So I'm glad, no digs in the slightest, by the way. So I'm glad we managed to get you back on today. Appreciate it very much, man. Where do you stand at the moment? And obviously, we've known for a while now that it is going to be Poch in the end. Have you come around to a point where you're like potentially even excited about it? Or are you still at a point where you're like, well, let's I guess see how it goes, but still not really fully behind it?
Well, thank you for having me on as well. I think I'm pretty excited with the future now. Our past, especially this season, has been quite bleak. So just searching for something to look forward to. I wasn't really into the whole Nagelsmann thing. I didn't quite believe in it. So I think Pochettino being pretty much the obvious candidate from now, I think it's good. All the stories that come out from now on, I think it's very interesting. The lemon one, especially, it's just one of those things that you get to know. But I think. I always respected him as a manager, especially, for that Spurs period, that 16-17 season when they were, fantastic. It was only because we kept winning that they wouldn't have their first league title in about 17 million years. So I think he's a very good manager. I'm very happy to have him, and I'm excited to see what he can do with a team like ours. That being said, I also think we have, a massive summer ahead of us. I hope to see, we'll see in the tier list in a bit. The sell column is going to be, from my point of view at least, pretty large as well. I imagine for you guys as well. But I think I'm very excited for the season to be over soon. You can see the players they've given up, and it does. For me, I think I lose a little bit of respect for some of the players when I can see they're not really trying. I think Pipes won't be very happy with me, but that the likes of Kovacic, Raheem Sterling in recent weeks as well. They haven't really inspired me, and maybe they don't feel inspired as well, which I can expect. So I hope get Pochettino announced, get Nkunku announced as well. Don't know what's going on with that, and I think we're going into a great future. So thank you for having me on, and those are my initial thoughts.
Wonderful. Now I was going to ask Pice about slightly more random or more broader, just a question to introduce himself. But as he just told me in the private chat here, we have got absolutely ginormous breaking news. Pice, what you saying? What you feeling? Breaking: Chelsea FC are close to acquiring a stake in French side Strasbourg. Talks are progressing smoothly, according to Jacob Steinberg of The Guardian, is he?
Yeah, The Guardian, yeah.
There you go. Exciting news for you? Bad news for you? Like, is the main club, Chelsea, are we already in a position to be focusing on acquiring other clubs? I mean, it's a great thing for people like David Dutcher Fofana. That's
yeah. Sure. We need somewhere. This has been rumored over the last sort of few months. But we need somewhere to put these young talents. And I know Chelsea have been scouting so many young players, and it's just like, why are we doing all this? Well, if we buy or invest in clubs, then obviously we can kickstart this multi-club project, which will be really exciting, to be fair. I think, City do a really good job of it. I think in the article it mentioned how I think Brighton have got a couple of clubs. Mitoma, Mitoma went on loan to some side last season and did really well, and then came
Genuinely
back.
didn't know that,
I mean,
Belgian side.
This is Belgium side. This is very exciting because I mean, if we have Slonina, Fofana, all our ballers out in Strasbourg, then we get to watch some extra matches. So yeah, this is really exciting. I like the whole idea of it. Yeah.
I like the idea to the extent if it's used properly, if it's used well, I can see it absolutely being a massive benefit for the club. I can see it also slightly, just overdoing it a little bit. If it's not done right, it can also be kind of a bit of a waste of time, effort, and money a little bit. But I will give them a benefit of the doubt and hope that it goes well. In general, I think Strasbourg I quite like the kind of size of club we're trying to deal with here. We're not obviously there was a few months ago, there was also a small rumor that we were even trying to get involved with Lyon or clubs like that, but also much super small clubs in Portugal. I'm but if you're too small or if they're too big, that's not really a benefit. I think there's a very a perfect medium in terms of what kind of level of club makes sense to acquire as such a second club. Now, obviously, if we go a little bit further, maybe a slightly bigger club in the Netherlands or in Belgium could also make sense to add to it. At the same time, you've got a French one now. Why do you need a Belgium or a Dutch one? Unless you want to have a couple more within Europe. I still think at this point, surely we might as well go for Vitesse. I know we have a different regime, but they already know us. And hasn't it come out about Roma now? There was some dodgy business going on there. And I was like, that is that. Just quickly, let me bring it up on the screen, the table in Liga. I can't, unfortunately, get it all up on the same screen from top to bottom. But Strasbourg are currently 14th, not really under any threat of getting relegated. Now, they're only 5 points clear with 3 games to go. So theoretically, not fully safe. But, most likely they will stay in Liga. And that is pretty good. To have a second club, if you're going to be okay with having a second club and building the multi-club model as such, having a club in Ligue 1 is very useful because think about how many brilliant talents have come out of Ligue 1 over the last few years. You can't even list them all because there's so many. So from that point of view, Bertram, I can't fully remember if I've ever spoken to you and asked you about in general the multi-club model, but I mean here we are now. And then now with Strasbourg, more specifically. You a fan of this? You like the move?
Well, I think the thing about multi-club ownership is we have this case in Denmark as well. I think it's where one of the teams has been bought, and I think it's quite, in a sense, it needs to make sense for the second team as well. If we see Strasbourg, it isn't the largest of teams in Ligue 1, so I suppose in that sense it's quite good. From our point of view, I think it's amazing. I think this is the missing link we've had between some of the signings we've made. The 15-year-old Ecuadorian kid. You look at him and think, okay, large talent, but he's not going to come in and start against Luton away. We saw them yesterday. So
I mean, he's
think this is the missing link
to come here at 18 anyway. So
exactly. So I think this is the missing link between some of the signings we've seen. Someone like David Datro Fofana played well against, I think it was Southampton, but. Yeah. You can see there needs to be some development to start for a club like Chelsea. We also heard some reports from the likes of Pice as well, and where some of the players were concerned because the players we were bringing in, weren't up to Chelsea level. So I think, from our point of view, this is amazing. You could see someone like Andre Santos, David Datro Fofana, Slonina as well. Just in between that point where you want them to get some good development, you'd like to control this part as well. They are investments. You want to protect the investments. So I think from our point of view, this is fantastic, and I can't wait to see it. And I really hope that the owners are going to take good care of Strasbourg as well and make sure they challenge as well, because it's important that the fans of that club, they need to be respected as well. We're seeing the same thing in Denmark. One of the biggest Danish teams have been bought up by a consortium. So as much as it benefits us, we also need to respect the club of Strasbourg. But
100%.
Exciting times ahead, and I think this makes much more sense than Vitesse, for example, even though we do know and love them. And you saw what how it developed. Mason Mount being able to go there, get some assists, a great league as well. I think is it Joe Shields we signed from Monaco, or Lauren Stewart, maybe one of them.
Lauren Stewart,
yeah, knows that league in and out as well. So exciting times. We're almost becoming the French national team with all the French speakers we have. So great news.
No, right. Exactly. But I think you made a really, really important point. And obviously, eventually, maybe Strasbourg fans will end up not necessarily becoming Chelsea fans, but, they have to somewhat deal with Chelsea if this does so happen. Also, what will be interesting, because obviously the report says are acquiring a stake in French side Strasbourg. It will be very interesting how big that stake will be, because how Bertram just said in terms of hopefully we can help them challenge as well. Depends, because I don't know what the exact rules of percentage ownership is in terms of how much are we allowed to own if they make it to Europe without that being a conflict of interest. But at the same time, RB Leipzig, RB Salzburg, they both play in Europe. I don't know how they find a way around it, but so there clearly is a way around it. Otherwise, that wouldn't be possible. They've literally played against each other, which I still don't understand how that's legal. But, Red Bull and legality, we've known that's always a bit dodgy. But in general, yeah, like you say, make sure that they, let's not just exploit Strasbourg here, because they don't deserve that. They've done nothing wrong to deserve that. So let's actually use them in a way that's beneficial to us and beneficial to them. I think that would be, I hope that there can be a benefit for everyone. And maybe when we get to the tier list in a little bit, maybe we need to change the loan column to send them to Strasbourg. Because might as well at this point, because I mean, and countless is maybe an exaggeration, but there is a lot of players that we can send over there. But Pais, are you also in agreement with that? That as much as it's great for us, and obviously we are Chelsea fans, and it's not like we're going to become Strasbourg fans now, but it's still important that we take them seriously as well and respect them as well. It's not like our job is to go here and ruin some club in France. That's not what's supposed to happen. I think it's important that we allow them to keep their traditions, to keep their kind of core of the football club, and not just make it Chelsea B. That's I don't think they would want that. And if we did that, I think that would also not lead to a successful partnership. I think we need to let them be them, let us be us, but work together in a beneficial way, and then it can be a positive for everyone. Would you agree, Pies?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that will happen as well. We're not buying the whole club, so it's not like we're just taking over a club and doing whatever we want. This owner specifically as well, I think he's a former player of them, so he has quite a deep connection with them. I was reading.
Sorry, who's the former player of them?
His second name's Keller or something. I've not heard of him. Mark Keller, I think his name was, but he used to play for Strasbourg apparently.
Yeah, and he works for us now.
No, he's the owner of this club. That's why.
Sorry, my bad. Okay,
yeah, we're in talks with Strasbourg, and it was saying he's got quite a deep connection. So there's no way he'd allow us to just walk all over that club. So and we shouldn't. But I think by sending some of our talented loan players that we want to maybe we invest in, we want to test them out, give them 1 or 2 seasons on loan. I think we could also help them as well. So I think it's a beneficial partnership. Let's see if we get any others as well. Because City have got loads, and they're just constantly developing talent, and then one will come around the corner in a couple of years and be like, well, where's he come from? Well, he's been out on loan, so I mean the owner's obviously constantly invested in young talent, and I think up until now it's kind of been like, well, like Fofana, what's been the use for him? We didn't send him out on loan when we got him, so he's only played one time for us in the league starting, so maybe a couple of times in the cup, but yeah, we need somewhere to send these guys and develop. And I think partnerships like this are clubs that are not they're not massive clubs either. I think it could be beneficial. It's not like we're, buying, I don't know, Marseille or something like that. And then, sending, not to say that Santos couldn't be good enough for them. He probably absolutely could. But you know what I mean? I like sending them down to these sort of lower clubs and developing them higher up and trying to, I like that project. With Chelsea, it's well, not this season, but we're constantly expected to challenge at the top end of the table, but with Strasbourg and that, we can kind of send these guys out to them and maybe another club. I think Portimonense was mentioned in Portugal. We can send these guys there, and it's kind of like a project. How much can our talent help them? That's like a test for them as well. You know what I mean? To see if they're actually good enough for Chelsea.
No, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And I'm sure we will acquire another club somewhere in South America as well, most likely Brazil, which would be useful for signings like, I forget his name, the 15-year-old Ecuadorian. What's his name again?
Kendry Paez.
That's it for him, but also Andre Santos. When we sign players that aren't yet, for legal reasons in Europe, allowed to move to any of our European clubs, we still can put them somewhere where we are in charge and on control of their development. So that also outside of Europe, acquiring clubs in the next few years will also be beneficial. One thing I would like to add to this before we move on from this topic, not only is it useful for a lot of the young players that we've already signed, I think it's also, there was a lot of talk recently in terms of how apparently with a lot of players, for that made it from Cobham now getting sold or leaving or whatever else, that also the kind of the vibe in the academy has kind of dropped a little bit in terms of that they don't really believe and see a real road to the first team anymore. But to me, this also gives the actual academy, not just young signings, but the actual academy players, a more realistic route to not just Chelsea, but to first team football while being with us, which I think can be a massive benefit in terms of acquiring young talents from England from a young age, but also when it's about keeping them, when giving them their first pro contracts and stuff when they're 16 years old or whatever. I think this can be very, very beneficial because you can literally tell them, well, you might can't beat Chelsea immediately because that's a difficult step to take, but there is a place where we have enough control to guarantee you minutes. And I think that's going to be a big benefit, personally. Just to keep players to go on UEFA tweet. They said,
put your house savings on in Real Madrid tonight. What on earth?
You know what? Is it the normal UEFA account? Yeah.
Yeah. How is it still up?
The UEFA.com.
Which one is it? Hang on. I did DM you it.
Okay.
It's just at UEFA. It's got a red and blue symbol.
Yeah, I just checked the DM.
What the hell?
That is mental. UEFA, you have lost the plot. Are you aware who's trying to do Super League here, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, to be fair, City were involved, but nowhere near as much as Real Madrid. UEFA are a bunch of clowns. But yeah, just quickly, Badger, do you agree with myself with that point that I've just made in terms of that not only for young signings that we've made, but also to make the actual academy players believe that there is some sort of route? Because it's always difficult to imagine, to believe in a route as a 15-year-old or whatever to play for Chelsea, because there's such a big gap between academy football and Chelsea Football Club, where if you have a realistic step in between, I feel like that just makes them much more likely to believe in the whole thing, no?
Yeah, when you put it like that, I think it makes sense. I also think, giving them the chance to be close to the first team as well, moving all these players like, Fofana and stuff on so they don't have to train with, the first team every day. I think it also opens up the opportunity for some of the academy players to train with the first team and feel like they're part of the squad as well. But you mean in terms of we can send them on there, send them to Strasbourg on loan as well, or?
Obviously, in the end, yes, but also talking about that, that young players at 15, 16, when they make their decisions, okay, where do I go to hopefully get my big break? That maybe allows us to keep them because we're like, okay, but when you hit 17, 18, we can send you to Strasbourg, where you will find it much easier to get high-level top 5 league minutes. While in the Prem at Chelsea, this might be difficult at 17, 18. It might take you, look at Gallagher, until 21, 22. And even then, you might not be good enough. But I think that just makes it more likely for them to think, okay, being at Chelsea is a good thing. Number one, it allows me a path to actually playing and starting for Chelsea. But even if that doesn't work out, I can still have my road to professional football here, realistically, not get stuck in amateur football, under 21s, never make it out of our under 21s, which none of them want. None of them want to be stuck in the under 21s forever. So I think from that perspective, it's just like I say, I don't know how to word it really, but just something that I believe makes them, I don't know. I just think it makes it more believable and realistic when the club are trying to convince you to stay. When you're 15, 16, that they're like, oh yeah, but in 2 years they're going to go to Strasbourg. It's also, I'm sure, for young people. When I was 16, I went to Ireland for 6 months. It was one of the most beneficial things for my life I've ever done. So being able to, send them out there without having to, but maybe no one will want you on loan. Well, we can control whether they want them. So, I think that can only be beneficial.
Well, I definitely think it gives us another avenue where, I think Chelsea have always been, you look at some of the talents we've had break through the last couple of years, we've always been able to find good loans for them, the likes of Conor Gallagher and Colwill, even Trevor Chalobah, who we were able to except for Ampadu, which you could always, I don't understand how that even failed.
No,
maybe he wasn't as good as we believed.
I think he's such a good player,
It's a blast from the past, the name you mentioned, but I think it gives us another avenue. I think players at Chelsea have always believed that, the likes of Neil Bath have always been able to find someone or a club where they're able to develop. I think we've always been able to develop players at such a high level and where most of them have been able to go join somewhere else. So I think it just it provides another avenue more than it's something you then strive for. But I've been quite worried the last couple of weeks seeing the amount of academy players. The Gilchrist, I think his name is, who's been leaving us. We don't know how good he is, but the fact that I think, isn't he our captain? I think the captain of our development squad being choosing to go somewhere else, it is quite worrying, and it could be because Chelsea don't believe in him. But I think definitely through this new ownership, I hope to see, as you've mentioned, I hope it provides another avenue, but I hope we just continue to use our academy, because it has proved to be one of the the best academies in the world. So I definitely think you have a point there.
Absolutely, there you go. And like I said, when we touch on Ampadu, those kind of experiences, I'm hoping that having a stake in like Strasbourg, where we have a bit of control over it, I hope that's what can be avoided. Because if he down the Leipzig, he played 3 games all season, but because we couldn't bring him back, it was an issue. We have control over Strasbourg. We have, I'm sure, some control how many minutes they get, and even if they don't get minutes, we can just take them back out and do something else with them.
Lovely place as well.
Exactly. I think I've only driven through or past Strasbourg, but it's a nice area of the world. Nice stadium as well, 25,000 full stadium most of the time. So yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Now let's cover a bit of the other news, and I'll start with, as much as this is not directly now linked to Chelsea, still arguably the most breaking news of the day after the Strasbourg stuff, I suppose. Ivan Toney we've finally gotten a conclusion to the whole situation, which I found a bit baffling, because how many months ago now is it that he was initially charged with 232 separate instances of betting? I'm still wondering whether the guy's an absolute idiot, because like every footballer knows you're not allowed. So 232 times, like how does that happen? But yeah, he's been banned for 8 months, and 4 of those months he's not even allowed to train with Brentford, which is actually huge. That's a huge implication for not just Brentford and the value that Ivan Toney has for them, but also for Ivan Toney's career, because not being able to train properly is an issue. Now, of course, he will train with his, I'm sure Brentford will give him some coaches and whatever else, or he will hire his own people, and I'm sure he will do something, but still not ideal. So yeah, I firmly believe that takes him out of the conversation for Chelsea to sign him, even though I've seen some tweets already. Just use Lukaku until January and then use Toney, sign him anyway. You couldn't get him for extra cheap now, which I guess is a bit of a point. You know how cheap Toney would be right now, because no one will want him. So it's a debatable topic. I'll ask you the question now, Pais. First speak about the ban in itself, but then, does the ban making him super cheap make it a valid option? Like Barcelona signed Suarez all those years ago, and he, because of obviously biting Chiellini in the World Cup, he then wasn't allowed to play for them for the first 4 months of the season. But they still bought him, probably got him for cheaper because of that. And look how it went for them after, because he was the best striker in the world for years for them. So should we still consider it, or is it completely out of the conversation for you now, Pais?
It's a really interesting topic, because I don't think the striker market is that good. Obviously you've got Osimhen and Kane, but however unrealistic Kane probably is, Osimhen, Napoli don't have to sell him. ADL's already come out publicly and said, I'm not selling him. And usually when he says something, it's not like, okay, maybe he's just whatever, he's attracting offers. Usually when he says something, he means it, and we know that from history. So I think it's going to be very hard to get Osimhen out. Vlahovic, is he, Chelsea leading the line level? I don't know. I've not really watched a lot of him, but, he's a good finisher. But, Lukaku may be coming back. There's a few options, but there's not for me, Toney is probably my number one. Him and Kane, I think, would be, him or Kane would be ideal. I just think Toney scoring 20 goals for Brentford is insane. he's a great all-round player. But now with this ban, it does pose the question, is it worth going to buy him for 40, 50 mil if that's what they would demand?
But do you not think the ban would lower the value to even potentially the 30s? Because he's down for 8 months, he's not even allowed to train for 4 months. I would assume that the halves, if not more, the value that Brentford can and will ask for him.
I mean, I don't know if it'll go that low, because Thomas Frank said he's £100 million player. So
yeah, but Thomas Franks love talking about money. I wouldn't take him too seriously.
No, but they, if he wasn't banned, they would ask for something crazy. He's
true.
You know, he's like West Ham's Declan Rice almost, just a different position. You know, he's so
And a bit
important.
older, of course.
Yeah, and a bit older.
How old is he actually? I'm gonna just check. But
I think was he 27? I think maybe.
true, it's actually older than I had realized. I'll be honest, I thought it was more like 25-ish, but fair enough. That makes the whole 8-month ban. If you're already 27, 8-month ban is arguably more impactful than if you're like 22 or whatever.
Yeah, he is 27. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I mean, it just depends whether I think Pochettino wants to use Broja and whether he sees, Nkunku for those first few months as, up front almost. But I don't think we'll buy him. I think he's out of the equation. But I don't see it as like a off the table type thing for me personally. But I think maybe the club will be like, yeah, nah. Like, especially because like the whole like what's to say he doesn't do it again? You know what I mean? Like you can never. Yeah, you never know. He's done something.
I mean,
stupid
if you were to sign him and he does it again, you could just put some sort of contract clause in it that he has to
like
compensate us for any
like,
loss of that. So it's
do
like
anything
remember
illegal.
Barcelona with Suarez, they had a contract. If he ever buys anyone again, he has to pay them like what was it, 100 mil or something stupid? It was crazy.
Really?
Maybe it wasn't quite 100 mil, but it was a lot of money. Like they had some sort of clauses that he's in big trouble if he does anything bad again.
I mean. Yeah,
maybe
we'll see, but I don't think we'll go for him now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Now, Pies, just quickly. By the way, hello, Johnny. Known each other not personally, but for a long time from good old Facebook group. So I hope you're well, mate. But he says 40% of Toney's goals are penalties, which is actually true. Well, I don't know the exact number if it's 40%, but a lot of them are penalties. So does that not should we even take penalties into the equation when it comes to how many goals he scores for Brentford? Now, obviously, he wins a lot of the penalties, and his penalty record is amazing. But we don't sign players to take penalties, and a lot of his goals are actually penalties. I don't know how many it is without them, but that I will go check now. But it's certainly not quite this many without penalties. So does that change anything?
No, not for me. I still think he's a great player. I think with Toney,
it's 14 goals without penalties. 20 of his.
With Toney, what you get is not just a finisher. You get the all round package. He really is, an all round player. He can hold the ball up. He's decently quick. He's an amazing passer as well. Like link up play, passing, spotting a pass. There's not many strikers like him. There really isn't. In terms of passing and vision, him and Mbuemo up front have been absolutely amazing for Brentford. And he does play on his own sometimes as well. He can definitely hold the line on his own. And I just think with, Nkunku, Mudryk, Madueke, whoever else we sign, maybe if we get another winger, I could see scope for some real good link-up play here, especially with Nkunku. Because Toney always, he tries to keep it one touch as well, so I think he could be a really good signing for us, but I don't think it will happen personally, just because, I just don't think the club want these type, we've had enough, controversy almost around the club. I don't think Chelsea want to be, the club to, be in the media for buying a banned player sort of thing. I just don't see that happening, to be fair, but yeah.
Fair enough. No, I don't fully disagree. I also agree that it's smarter to not sign him, but, if we were in a situation of, we could use Nkunku up top, maybe keep Havertz for another season and play Nkunku, Havertz, Felix, keep Felix then, because you get Toney from January and then you have a decision to make. Do you keep Felix permanently? Do you not? I'm not saying it's the best option, but it's an option. I will say it that far. Batchum, your thoughts, obviously the ban itself, but do you think it takes him out of the conversation for Chelsea potentially buying him, or do you think it maybe even puts him back into the conversation purely because maybe not quite as low as I initially suggested, down into the 30s, but certainly a lot lower than the 100 million?
I did like the thought of him, and I think the fact that he scores that many penalties, a goal's a goal. And it's not like he scored 10 goals, he scored 20. So even with, 14 non-penalty goals, which in the Brentford side you'd have to respect, not expect, not the the free-flowing football side we strive to be. So you'd imagine he'd almost score more with us. But I think how he's been banned, the fact that he's not even allowed to train with us for 4 months if we were to sign him right this very moment, I think puts him out of the equation. I think we need to start acting like a serious football club again. I think this is it would be quite stupid. I think for me, the striker position for us, I'd want something, I'd want something sure thing. I'd want us to go get a Lautaro Martinez. I'd want us to go and get, I have my doubts about Osimhen, but someone like that, just purchase someone proven who's able to come in preseason. I think we can't underestimate how important that is right now. And if I'm honest,
he can have a whole 8 months of preseason.
He can by himself, he can run around Fulham, be in great shape. But I think we need to start acting like a serious football club, and this is something that we can get memed about. I don't know that that's not something we have to take into account if it's the right fit, but I think even though Pice did say that the striker market isn't as expansive as we'd like, I think there are better options. I think if he wasn't banned for 8 months, I would seriously consider him. I think I agree with what you're saying. I think his hold-up play and his all-around attacking play as well is something we should look for. Very clinical as well. The Premier League experience you can't account for, but I would like to have our settled squad for the first game of next season. I don't want to watch Havertz play striker anymore. I don't really want to count on someone like Nkunku to just come in and be our main striker. I think Pochettino said, or the reports have said, that he has like 3 main positions. There's a goalkeeper, defensive midfielder, and a striker. Just don't mess about. Get those 3 for preseason, and we can start working from there. I think the way that the ban is structured, I wouldn't go near Toney unless we can get him for like 10 mil and have a backup option as well. But, those are my thoughts.
Fair enough. I think you're both right that it's probably better to stay away. But like I say, I just mentioned it as an interesting opportunity. The next thing to bring up, it's kind of a bit more in one, but it also touches on what you were just talking about in terms of Lautaro Martinez, and that's the part I want to focus on. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say it's with like the links are crazy, and I personally don't really see it as particularly realistic. Because his teammate is literally Lukaku, and Lukaku will literally tell him all the bad things about Chelsea, even if Lukaku doesn't really know Chelsea anymore, because we've just changed drastically since Lukaku was last here. But I personally, he's captain of Inter Milan right now, or at least he's wearing a captain's armband. I'm not sure if their actual captain is injured or something that I'm not aware of, but he's wearing a captain's armband. It's just taking them to a Champions League final. Yes, a Champions League final that they will most likely lose, in my opinion, but still, taking them to a Champions League final, he would cost so much money. I don't know. Like, he's not bad. He's not bad, and he reminds me a lot of Aguero, and always has since I first got wind of who Lautaro Martinez is, and I first watched him a few times. Just seems like not the second coming of Aguero, because he's not as good, but in terms of stylistically, body type, the way he plays, a little less pace than Aguero, I suppose, but still, maybe you could also liken him a little bit to Carlos Tevez. But yeah, he's not a bad player, but I'm personally not fully sold on it. I just don't think we're in a situation where we should get a striker whose main best attributes isn't scoring goals. Like, he scores goals, but his main best attributes isn't scoring goals. It's like getting another Giroud. Giroud was great for us, but his best thing wasn't scoring goals. His best thing was linking us up. But if the players around him weren't good at scoring goals, that was useless. So that's why at times Giroud was great, and at times he was useless, because when the players around him didn't really work with him, it never worked. So yeah, I mean, it's true what Jester says. They do have money issues. So from that perspective, I guess they do have to sell to some extent. But I mean, they're in the Champions League final. That also helps money issues, They get a lot of money from that. So their money issues are not going to be as drastic as they would have been if they were knocked down like the round of 16 or whatever. You just touched on him, Bertram. What makes Lautaro Martinez interesting to you? Now, he's certainly better for Inter than he is for Argentina, but that just scares me with Serie A tax again, because if you can do it there, but not at the World Cup, why not? And I say that it's not just this one World Cup. I've never seen Lautaro Martinez play well for Argentina, and I've watched him a lot.
He was quite good when he broke through at the first Copa America. He almost got like 6 times. It is. I think the thing about him is, I watched a Tifo video about Inter, and even if they win the Champions League, the payout isn't, it isn't sufficient to pay for all the money troubles they have. Before they progressed, their president even said like their bank balance was 0 for the summer, so they would definitely need to make one marquee sale, and they might even make 2. So I think even though they'd like a lot of money for him, I think they might be willing to sell if we came in with 60-70 mil. I think the thing that makes him interesting,
we could give them Lukaku and kind of to make the whole.
We have a bargaining chip in Lukaku as well. I think personally it does worry me a bit, and it might be because, it's like the snowball effect. He misses one chance, people talk about it, misses another, it keeps going. Even though he did play quite well. And I do see shades of Morata as well, but I think we just can't look past the fact that he's playing in an Inter side that, for the first half of this year and, the last couple of years, they haven't always been the best. They were very good when they won the league title under Conte, but it's not like he's playing for Real Madrid or, a free-flowing Dortmund side in the Bundesliga where, it's written to the contract of every team that comes up that your back line, even though how slow it is, has to stand on the halfway line. He is playing in quite a good league. The Serie A has seen an uptick in form as well. And it's not, and Inter has.
I mean, they got
free
3
teams
in the Champions League quarterfinals. You can't complain too much.
They did, and he did score, and he has won things. And someone said as well, he was on. Well, he is a proficient scorer. Maybe it's only 10, 15 goals, but right now it's not. We're not asking for a Lewandowski season in the Bundesliga where he broke all records. We're just looking for a consistent scorer. And when you look at his stats, you can see very good creative output, good solid solid shooting output as well. Also some defensive output in there. So when I look at it, I think this is definitely a player we could build an attack about if we're getting someone like Nkunku in as well. If we'd like to keep some of our other attackers, a Mudryk, a Madueke, we can have a very fluid attack. So I think he's definitely a good option. If he's my preferred option, I don't know. I need to see the other options as well. But I would definitely look toward him. I think he's a good option, and I think he'd score goals for us. And as long as he doesn't do any stupid interviews, I think, we'd be happy to have him. He shows some passion as well, which is something, we've been lacking. He's like kind of like the opposite of Havertz in that sense, showing something, which, the fans can get behind. So I think he could become a real fan favorite, and I'd like to see him in a blue shirt if it were up to me.
It's interesting because another kind of concern I'd have is when he's thrived, it seems like it was always in a 2-striker formation next to someone bigger. Because Lautaro Martinez is only 5'9" in centimeters, 174 centimeters tall, like 1 meter 74. He's not very tall. I don't even genuinely feel like is that even it makes him a non-option as a lone striker, quite frankly. I know Aguero made it work, but do I believe that Lautaro will when he's not really proven it yet? When Argentina play one up front, he's not really been successful for them really ever. Not saying he was always dreadful, but never amazing. And for Inter, he's been great, but yeah, always next to Lukaku or next to Dzeko, next to big strikers. And, well, I guess we do have Lukaku in a way, but we're not going to play them together. I just don't see. I don't think Lukaku will play for us again because Lukaku doesn't want to play for us again. And then I'm like, well, if you need to buy another one, what is the point? Pies, what is your thoughts on Lautaro Martinez?
I think he's an all right player, but I personally wouldn't want him. I don't think he gets you enough goals, and I think he's one of the ones I think would sign for a hefty fee, probably 70 million plus, and I think it would be ups and downs. I don't think we'd ever get proper consistency. For me, I've never really rated him as highly as others. I think he's quite an inconsistent finisher as well. I know he's got 20 goals in Italy this season, actually 3 behind Osimhen. But again, I do agree with you. He thrives more with 2 strikers, and I
can just imagine Reece James whipping cross after cross to a 5'9" striker.
Yeah, I don't want to go down this road again where we have a bit of what have we said all season? We've said we need a proper striker. Lautaro for me is just another player. He's he can do a bit of everything, but he's not he doesn't, I know he plays up front, but he doesn't strike me as a striker, if you get what I mean. I don't know. It's just a weird one. I don't think he'd be I don't see us winning a league with Lautaro Martinez up front. I just don't think it happens in England. I think we need someone of a bigger build, much better physicality wise. Although he's not bad for his size, I just think we need a proper brute up front, a proper ball striker who can head the ball, who can hold the ball up, who's just that all-round package. I don't think Lautaro is that. I think he could be a nice complementary piece if we did play 2 strikers. But are we going to play that?
We have Nkunku anyway to be that second one.
Yeah, exactly. You've got Nkunku who can drift off the striker. So I don't see any point in it. Plus, I do think it's heavily unrealistic. I did say on Twitter last night he's captain. Why would he leave? And some people did make a good response saying, well, Enzo was patting the badge and all that. Then he left. I mean, Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, he could come for money, but again, Lukaku stay there. I actually do agree with you. I think Lukaku is going to say to him, no, stay with me, that sort of thing. I came back to play with you and all that because he did. Let's be honest, he missed playing with Lautaro. It's one of the things he said in his interview. So I don't see this as a realistic or plausible option. But you never know. If Pochettino wants him, Chelsea may engage in discussions.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, Tone is clearly a big fan of Toney. Tony's only 2 inches taller, which is true, but I've seen Toney win headers against much taller players. He is
Only
good at
2
that.
inches.
Lautaro Martinez is particularly not, like, his strength isn't hold up play with the ball in the air headers. That's not his strength. While even Ivan Toney, even though he's not the very biggest, he's still good at it. But also those 2 inches can make a big difference. Being basically 180 and 174 is a big difference. Like, it can make a big difference in how likely you are to win a header or, to win physical duels, because physical duels aren't always about physical strength, because having leverage, being taller helps. Even if you're weaker, being taller, having more leverage helps you. So yeah, I'd have my doubts, but at the same time, if it does happen, I'll see how it goes. Let's see whether it does happen, I guess. Now, part of this report was also that we might be interested in Declan Rice, of course. We're fighting against Arsenal for that one. I'm still intrigued. My only hope is really that Arsenal can't afford a lot of, like, 120 mil, and we were all bamboozled over the last 3 years, particularly by one American in particular, who kept telling us, no, it's not going to be more than 80 million in the end. Our only hope now is that it's a lot more than 80 million, because our only hope is that Arsenal can't afford him if we want Rice. So, that's fun. Emi Martinez, not a fan. Not a fan. Don't think he's good enough with the ball at his feet. Good player. Good goalie. Maybe also the good age to allow Slonina to come in 3-4 years. But Poch also wants to play out from the back. We literally have built a squad to play out from the back in terms of the players we've signed, especially defensively. You'd be an idiot now to sign a goalkeeper that isn't good at that, because then you just keep Mendy then, Like, what's even the point then? If you're going to get a goalie that's not great with the ball at his feet. And Alexis McAllister.
Makes no sense for our squad at all.
Yeah. I mean, in a 4-3-3 he would, but I don't think we're going to play a 4-3-3. And if so, well, I'd fucking much rather keep Mason Mount than sign McAllister. I don't know. Like, he was good for Argentina, but when I watched him for Argentina in the World Cup, he always looked like, the odd one out, the odd player that is good, but that was mostly on the pitch because someone had to be the 11th player. Like, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. He was still part of a team that won the World Cup, which is still impressive, and he played well. But I don't know, man. I mean, like, if we're talking about midfielders and Inter apparently need to sell players, and you're talking about not number sixes, give Nicolo Barella a call, please, and not Alexis McAllister. I don't know. But yeah. The last bit, though, another bit of information about Lukaku, Pochettino, all of that, as we've kind of just touched on Lukaku a bit as well, from Matt Law, is that Mauricio Pochettino is apparently open to working with Romelu Lukaku. Talks are delayed now until after the UEFA Champions League final, of course. What do you make of that, Belgium? We were talking about it just before we went live, where I said, well, obviously, Poch doesn't have any personal issues with Lukaku, so why would he not be open to it? But I just don't think Lukaku is open to coming back. Like, it's only been reports from Italy, and you always have to take those with a big grain of salt. But, I mean, they were saying that he's literally putting pressure on Chelsea to cover more of his wages so he can stay at Inter. And I'm like, you absolute pig. Go to Saudi Arabia or take a wage cut and shut the fuck up. Like, seriously, you absolute moron. Like, who the fuck do you think you are, man? You can't even get Dzeko on the bench. You can't even get Dzeko on the bench. Have some humility, okay, lads? Like, I know you played well when you came on, but, you're now basically Pulisic. You're only good from the bench. No one uses you for anything else. So shut up. Do you know what I mean? Disgraceful. But without taking a piss too much, Badger, thoughts on this? Like, are you bothered, or do you care? Do you still see it happening anyway? Because I don't. Even if there's still talks to have and whatever, I just don't think he wants to come back. And then,
Well, in my head, I was a bit of a hypocrite with this earlier in the season, because I think at the start of this season, he still probably is one of the players who I really, really, really dislike, just because of, like, the whole saga last season. I was so happy to see him sign, and that goal he scored against Arsenal last year, I solemnly did believe that we were going to win the league when that went in. So I think that was terrible, and just the way it all happened. He complained about not playing, told Lautaro to wait, and come on, he was injured. What's going on? So just the whole saga last year was so tiring. And then when at the start of this season, I thought we should be able to do without him. But seeing how bad we've been, needing a striker, it would make sense. But
I agree.
I don't think.
I even agree with that.
But I don't.
As much as I don't want him, I agree.
I really just it's just really difficult for me to forgive him in this matter. A team that we care so deeply about to just come in and shit on us in a sense. I would find it really difficult to. I would celebrate if he scored, but I would find it difficult. I find it difficult to support him. I imagine the supporters as well. Someone like Carey Lewis. What's his reaction going to be when his name pops up? So I think he doesn't want to come. Well, fair enough. I think there has to be a different solution. And I understand the ownership's changed, and I understand the fact that the management's changed as well. But I would need an apology, like a next level YouTube apology. Someone, really playing on all the things, the lighting, the tears, the regret. I need absolutely everything to be in check. I need next level Logan Paul after Japan incident. I need something to that level to be able to expect him back. But I think we need to look somewhere else. Especially he doesn't want to come as well. I understand you talked, before stream about the fact that Pochettino doesn't have anything against him. Why would he? But as Chelsea fans, I've been seeing a lot of people, being able to welcome him back. I wouldn't, I don't want someone who disrespected our club to be anywhere near. What kind of signal does that send? So get him out the door. Don't let it hit him on the way out.
Yeah, there you go. And imagine he scores 5 goals and does another interview. Both are equally as realistic. Actually, another interview is probably more realistic. Pies, thoughts on the whole, like, Poch is open to working with Lukaku? Does that annoy you? Or are you like, well, obviously, but Lukaku doesn't want to come back anyway? Now, again, I need to say, we don't know whether these Italian reports are true, and we don't actually know for sure whether Lukaku considers coming back to Chelsea as an option or not. It's mostly been Italian media reporting on it. But unless they're all lying, he doesn't want to come back. And if he doesn't want to come back, why on earth should we want him to come back?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've watched his interview with CBS Sports last night when he interviewed with Henry and Jamie Carragher and that. He seems very happy there. He was saying, like, to Micah Richards, because he played in Italy, right? Micah Richards. Lukaku was saying, like, oh, we love you here and all that, as if he was, like, Italian himself. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, this guy's never coming back. Like, what are you on about? Like, he's not coming back. I highly doubt, unless Poch is some, like, next level, like, persuader or something. I don't think he comes back, and I don't think we should take him back. I don't think, again, do we really need, like, his sort of character in our dressing room? We don't need it, man. Like, let's just have a fresh start. Let's forget about Lukaku. Let's get players out the door that don't want to be here, and let's just have a fresh start. We've already got, debates about Pochettino himself. Like, let's not have another whole circus about Lukaku coming back. Like, but I tell you, one thing is, though, fans are very fickle, and I know that I would be as well if he started scoring goals. I remember the Wolves game. Was it our last? Yeah, I think it was our last game of last season. Maybe second to last, maybe our last home game. He scored 2 goals anyway, and we won that game. And literally all the fans were singing, like, his song, and I remember standing there. I was like, this is just so awkward, because, like, 2 months ago he, like, slandered our club. So I think our fans are so desperate for a striker that they would get behind Lukaku if he started scoring goals. But again, like, if you think of Pochettino,
would he? Because does he want to be here, and therefore would he start to score goals? That's what I'm doubting.
I don't know, but if he did start scoring goals, then yeah, our fans would definitely get behind him. I can just tell that from what they did against Wolves last season at home. So, I think, though, he doesn't fit Pochettino's way of playing at all, which is why I find it weird that he's open to working with him, because Pochettino likes pressing, and what does Lukaku do? Not press. So I don't really understand that, unless he's going to make him into, Everton Lukaku, where he's like ultra slim build, extra fit. I mean, in that case, then, that was one of the best strikers in the world. But even though he's doing well at Inter Milan and stuff like that, he's still not been the same player for ages, and he's 30 now. So, like, I don't know. It's just so many red flags and his big wages. Like, what more can you say? Like, it's just, it's not really.
Now, obviously, the situation would be a little bit different if he all of a sudden said, for example, this CBS interview that you're talking about last night, which was a 10-minute interview. How often do you get that? But in which he came across well and like a nice guy and a funny guy. That's what he does come across when he's not, talking to Italian media while being, at Chelsea Football Club. So if he said in an interview like that, yeah, I've made some mistakes at Chelsea and, I'd love to try again. Like if he was giving the like, I want to come back, I want to kind of redeem myself, then it's a whole different conversation. Then I'd still have my doubts, but then it's something we can talk about. But he's not done that. He's not done anything close to like, I want to come back. So, Pius, you're right. If he did come back and he would start scoring goals, fans would come aboard with it. Absolutely. Because that's how football fans are, especially ours. They like everyone who does well. They like everyone who doesn't, no matter what's happened before. That's unfortunately how fickle and silly as sometimes they are. But he doesn't, like, again, that's the point. Stop talking about him as if it's down to us. It's down to him anyway, more than anything. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time we get into what we're here for today, mainly the tier list. I am very willing and open to changes to the tiers because they're very basic right now, nothing hilarious about them. So if you have any fun suggestions, drop a super chat or whatever, and we might change it. Or if they're hilarious enough, even without a super chat, we might change it. But yeah, although I do kind of want to change loan to Strasbourg, if I'm honest.
I know someone's going to comment like send to China or something.
What is the abbreviation for Strasbourg?
I have no idea. Probably S.
Isn't it RC or something?
SBG, I think.
They're called racing clubs, the Strasbourg. That's interesting. So RCSA apparently, because Strasbourg Alsace, which is the area in France, apparently. But no one's going to understand that, do they? Will they? If I spell it small, does it fit? There you go. Let's just do it like that. There you go. Bit of a laugh. Why not? And ladies and gentlemen, let me get rid of this. But do hit the like button, by the way. Let's get to 100 likes as quickly as we can. And subscribe if you haven't already. That would be massively appreciated. I did try to, as long as I didn't make a mistake, order the players from goalkeeper to defenders to midfielders to wingers to strikers. A few players are missing from this. Slonina is not on here. Bettinelli isn't, but we know both of them are staying. With Slonina, I guess he would be one of the ones that I'd love to send to Strasbourg, if I'm honest. And also, if you're noticing, Ben Chilwell is here twice. Where's the second one? Here's one. Where's the other Ben Chilwell? Oh, there's the other one. See, there's two Ben Chilwells. I don't know why. One of these Ben Chilwells will act as Lewis Hall because Lewis Hall is not here. So, yeah, Ben Chilwell number 2 is going to be Lewis Hall in this. And you know what, boys? I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. If we have different opinions completely, we're probably going to try to find the middle of wherever we are. But let's just start it off with Kepa Arrizabalaga. I mean, Bertram, you're a goalkeeper yourself. What opinion do you stand on in terms of the goalkeeping situation? Like, number one, in terms of Kepa and Mendy, but also in terms of replacements that we've been linked to Andre Onana is another one. How likely are we to get Lautaro Martinez if we're trying to sell their goalie as well? Sorry, buy their goalie as well. How many players are they willing to give us? What do you think? Where would you put Kepa, and what is your situation at goalkeeper? And you might as well, because I haven't had you here when the Andre Onana thoughts were out, rumors were out. What do you think of that as well, maybe?
Yeah, well, I was quite confused when you asked me to do a tier list because the only tiers that I've been seeing this last couple of days have been from Arsenal fans. But enough about that.
Brilliant.
I think it's important that from next season we're not going to win the league, but I think from next season on we should act like a team who's going to win the league. And you've written Ruthless down under. So to be honest, I think Kepa and Mendy, for that sake, will come to him. I would sell them both. I think for Kepa, I'd put him in sell, not must sell. The reason I do that is I don't think we're going to realistically win anything with him. I think I'd like to give him plaudits. I think he's had a good season.
Well, I mean, he's already won the Europa League, to be fair to him. But
he has won the Europa League. He was brilliant in that campaign as well. He was brilliant that season. But I think he's not a Premier League winning goalkeeper, and
I agree.
I can only commend him for the save percentages that he has. He's made some brilliant saves, kept us in some games as well. The Villa game we thought about earlier when he had, pretty much outclassed Martinez in goal with his, amazing saves. But I think where it's getting to that point, and the long shot thing is, it's an interesting debate because most of the shots, even the best goalkeepers wouldn't save. But I don't fully believe that the defense trusts him, and that does have an effect. So for me, I'd sell. As for the Andre Onana links, he's proven to be a good goalkeeper, quite unorthodox in his technique as well. But as long as he saves the ball, who cares how he does it? I think for me, I don't know if he's good enough. You can't, complain with his, clean sheet record, almost having the most clean sheets in a campaign since, us. But I think the goalkeeper market right now is quite slim, with the exception of someone like Maignan, for example, who I'd rate higher as a shot stopper.
Yeah.
But just for Kepa right now,
although Maignan didn't look great for that Lautaro goal last night, I will say.
He didn't look great, but he didn't look great, and in that sense, Onana did win that duel. But for Kepa, I would sell, and I would look for someone else.
Yeah, I agree. I would also put Kepa in sell, not must sell. Again, I'm still not sure how much better Onana really is than Kepa. And if someone told me, well, next year we can get Maignan, but you need to keep Kepa for another year, I would accept that. I know most wouldn't, but if someone guaranteed me getting Maignan a year later, I would keep Kepa for another year rather than buying an Onana or a Raya or a Sanchez or Diogo Costa. I would be willing to wait that extra year because I don't think we're winning the league next year anyway. So, and Kepa has proven that he's good enough to be a top 4 goalkeeper to win slightly lesser competitions. So, but obviously we can't be guaranteed to get Maignan next year. So hence, Kepa goes in sell for me. Pies, does he go must sell for you? It's not going to be sell because 2 of us already picked sell, but where would you put him though?
It's interesting because I personally would sell him, but if you're thinking if Sonina goes out on loan, and I think we're 100%, 100,000% actually going to sell Mendy,
yeah,
then we're gonna need a backup. So Bettinelli's not going to be the backup. He's not going to be the backup. So I actually think if I had a prediction, I think Kepa stays.
It would be so fun if we signed Onana and then Pochettino starts Kepa over Onana.
Well, that would just be stupid then. Waste the money.
Smart as clear, bro.
But I, if I had to predict, I think he would stay. But personally, I would try and sell him.
But it would just be, I just find it stupid then, because if you're not going to sell him, but you're going to sell Mendy, surely keep Kepa for another year as first choice, because his wages are just way too high to be a backup all the time. So it would just be stupid to me. So it's like either sell him or let him play, because we had him on the bench for 2 years, and what else did that get us? Do you know what I mean? It was just like everyone was ridiculing us for having the most expensive goalkeeper in the world on the bench. Like, I don't know, but I do see a way in which you're right, where he does end up staying because we will sell Mendy. We don't want to sign 2 new goalies, and like I say, Sonina probably ain't ready to be back up, and Bettinelli most certainly isn't. Sorry.
I see 2 situations come the end of the summer. I see Kepa staying with a new number 1 goalie, or I see Sonina staying as the backup and we sell both Kepa and Mendy and then get a first choice. Those are the only 2 situations that I think will happen. I don't think Mendy will stay. I don't think Kepa will stay as number 1. I think he'll either be backup or him and Mendy will both be sold. Then Sonina will have to stay as the backup.
I'd go for Sonina backup.
It just depends, really, doesn't it? Because the club obviously do rate him highly, but is it worth just those few cup games? Because we're only in 1 competition, unless a freak injury happens and then Sonina plays all season. But is it then worth it, or should we just send him out on loan? I think we should send him on loan, but I don't know, man. He's still not. He's 18, so
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe another year as an actual number 2 this time could help him in England. I'm not sure. It's a bit interesting.
Could do, but then if a goalie gets an injury, then he's not number 2 anymore. That's when it can be an issue.
How likely is that? Obviously you can't go into the season.
Chelsea very.
You can't go into the season saying, well, say Onana, we sign. Onana's never going to get injured. Sonina, you're just 2 all season. By the way, you're playing these cup games. You can't do that. But at the same time, I don't know. That's how I think personally. I don't know. It's very rare for me. I don't see many, number one's getting out for like 2 months, 3 months longer.
That's true.
I think I've cracked it. I think I've cracked it. I think this is what we do. We get Ben Foster in, get some content for each year. Get it. That'd be great. That'd be great. I see loads of potential in doing this.
That would be the most Todd Bowley move ever.
Imagine he retires from Watford, who got relegated, goes to Wrexham in the National League, gets promoted to League Two, to be fair, and then comes to Chelsea.
Bowley's like, the fans have been moaning about leaders. Here's your leader, Ben Foster. He's got plenty of experience.
He's a freaking legend.
That'd be great. Boost some squad morale.
Man, I love Ben Foster.
But for his development,
apparently Salina's turned 19 a couple of days ago. So cheers, Bobby, for that. Shout out to you, by the way. Hope you're well, bro. But yeah, shall we move on, boys, to Edouard Mendy? For me, he would go in must sell. It's one of them. One of the goalies has to be must sell. One of them is in sell. That's how I put it. And I personally rate Mendy less highly than Kepa. Not necessarily saying that Mendy has never been better than Kepa. Of course he has. Kepa has never been as good as Mendy was during a Champions League winning campaign. We're all aware of that. But Mendy right now looks further away from that than, I don't know, Homer Simpson from a gym. Like, he's never going to be that again, ever, in my opinion. And yeah, he doesn't want to stay. He doesn't want to sign a new contract because he wants also the big wages. Go then. Like, thank you for winning us the Champions League, but I mean, we literally gave you a big break, and you're like, no, not signing a new contract. So, yeah, thanks for 2021, but that's it, and I appreciate it. Pice, must sell for you, or would you put both of them in sell?
I mean, Mendy probably would be must sell. Yeah, I think at this point, I think he could have saved himself a little bit with a really good top performance in the last game he played against Forest, but I don't know, man. He's just not the same anymore. Like, I do get, like, whoever we sell him to, I hope it isn't Premier League. I hope it's abroad, because something does scare me a little bit with Mendy. Like, he could just suddenly regain top form, but I think he's a must sell now. Yeah, especially just his ball playing is just not it, man. Like, it's such a vital point for goalies. And I know people say, well, Pochettino used Lloris, he's not the best on the ball, but I personally think it's the most important attribute for a goalie nowadays. It's so important. Every team's going to want to try and play out the back. You can't play out the back with Mendy. It affects the defenders as well. So, yeah.
There you go. What? Rafa said Spanish team here in France. That makes no sense. The Strasbourg is not a Spanish team. But yeah, Bertram, you in agreement? You hinted at it earlier, really, that Mendy will go in the must-sell category?
Yeah, and I think it's important that we get it out soon that he will be leaving us, because I think he really needs or he really deserves the proper appreciation for what he did. Yeah. Not just in the Champions League winning season, but the start of last season. Remember the Brentford game? Oh my! He was up there, like, world class. The game against Liverpool as well, even though he can't save a pen to save his life. So get it out soon. Just nothing about it, so we can give him the final home game against Newcastle. He can get his flowers. He can get the appreciation, because he did come from nothing. He came in. He helped us. He showed class. The second leg against Madrid, the season we won. I'll never forget that. So get it done quickly so we can get the love that he deserves. But yeah, definitely must sell. Not good enough anymore.
Fair enough. We kind of touched on Slanina already, but for me, either Strasbourg or keep him as second choice if they think that's valid. But I'd probably rather send him to Strasbourg, to be honest. Although, is he ready at 19 to be starting regularly for Strasbourg? If I'm honest, I'm not even sure of that. So maybe actually a season of second, maybe third choice goalkeeper would be good, but we're keeping Bettinelli. So third choice is kind of not an option. But is he ready to be second choice? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him to really judge.
I think that the best thing for Slanina would be to get game time. It's so important for keepers in the developing phase, wherever it is. Just
so maybe he needs to go. He needs to stay in England and not Strasbourg, but somewhere where at 19 he can start. So maybe that will be the better one. But he's unfortunately not on this tier list. So here we are. Let's get to Kalidou Koulibaly, and I will be maybe a little bit controversial compared to other people. I would put him in keep, not must keep. And I certainly understand why some people would consider not keeping him. But I think give the guy another season. I think he deserves another season. I think he's done enough in his career, and he's had enough moments of where I'm like, okay, you are good this season, where I'm like, if you're a bit more settled, and especially with how many young players we have and how many of our more experienced players are leaving anyway, I don't want to let another one go. And I would rather have him there. And yeah, I also think Chalobah gets us more money than Koulibaly does after this season, I'll be honest, or similar money anyway. And as we've obviously learned, homegrown players kind of help more for financial fair play than players we had just bought, because that just cancels the amortization rather than actually taking it all off the book. So yeah, I would put him in keep. Bertrand, would you put him in keep, or would you put him elsewhere?
I was actually thinking about selling him, but I do see your point. You might have convinced me. I think a lot of the signings we've made this season would deserve a second chance. They've come into an absolute circus of a football club. So I think, we know he has potential. The thing is, if we get a decent fee for him, I would definitely, I'd think about cutting our losses with him. Looking at, some of the talent we have coming in, the Levi Colwells. I personally keep Chalobah as well. We'll come to him soon. So I would probably sell him, but it's subject to us getting a good bid. I wouldn't just sell him for like 20 mil. We'd need to get something sufficient for him. But I'd put him in sell.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. If you're keeping Chalobah, you can't keep both, I think, because then we just have too many centre backs. So realistically, it's kind of between those two, isn't it? I mean, Kushagra, sorry for butchering your name, mate, says 3 left centre back. I don't see Koulibaly as an out-and-out left centre back, especially being right-footed. I think he can clearly be on both sides. More Badiashile, and I think Levi Colwell is so good that I don't think he's necessarily limited to just the left as well. In a 4, maybe, but in the 3, he's most certainly also capable to be in the middle. But yeah, Pice, make that decision up. I know you've said that you can see him leaving, but would you want him to leave? I know Thiago Silva is, of course, staying, but I've always, and I will always stand by that, I think defense and goalkeeper is positions where experience matters a lot more than higher up the pitch. And therefore, having all 22-year-olds, plus minus a couple of years, plus Thiago Silva is not enough experience for my personal opinion. I think the defense needs a bit more experience. Think about all the years we were successful in. There was not even a single one of those where there was a lot of young defenders. That's not a thing. You aren't successful if all your centre backs are young. That doesn't exist. So that's why I say keep. But of course, guys, if you are on sell, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm on definite sell. I'm on must sell actually.
Really? Bloody
yeah, I'm on must sell because if Thiago Silva left, I would probably keep him, perhaps, but he's on must sell for me because I don't want him taking any, and I mean any minutes off any of our other 4 centre backs we've got. That's Colwell, Silva, Fofana, and Badiashile. He does not get any minutes, any at all, over any of those 4 for me. So he's on must sell. And if we play a 3, James is considered a centre back. So there's another one.
Especially with Malagusta coming in. Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, I guess 1 keep, 1 sell, 1 must sell. Leaves him in sell because Strasbourg is obviously kind of its own thing that we kind of leave out for these discussions, because obviously Koulibaly isn't sent to Strasbourg or anywhere else on loan, let's be honest. But fair enough. Here we are. We are here to share democratic decisions rather than just someone taking the high ground on everything. So, next one on the list, Big Benoit Badiashile. Or Badiashile, how it's supposed to be pronounced, but how does it rhyme with Lamborghini then? Well, it doesn't. But somehow Chelsea fans made a song rhyme with Badiashile with Lamborghini anyway. But yeah, to me, I like him a lot. Big fan of him. Can only get better. Must keep for me. Some of these we will take a little bit longer to discuss, I'm sure. Some of them will be quite quick. Pice, is he one that's quite quick and has to be must keep, yeah?
Yeah, I mean... 100%.
Or is it just keep for you rather than must keep, maybe?
No, must keep means you just don't sell them at all. So I think he's a must keep.
There you go. No, I agree. Bertram, you as well?
He could have been the most dog water center back ever. The chant alone is enough for me to keep him. But other than that, I think great player, great player. Really went under the radar when we signed him. So happy, so much potential. I forgot how many center backs we have. It only makes me more sure that we have to sell Koulibaly as well. Fair
enough. And the next one, Wesley Fofana. Outside of being a bit too injury prone for my personal liking, big fan of him. I like him, and he all the same has to be a must keep for my opinion. Bertrand, do you agree?
Copy paste.
Copy paste. Pice, also copy paste, or what do you reckon?
Yeah, 100%. Fofana's only going to get better, and we signed him for a lot of money as well. So he was another investment for the future.
Fair enough. There you go. Listen, and again, by the way, if you appreciate you very much, subscribe and hit that like button for me. Next one.
If I could quickly come in, I was having this debate with all of my friends, and I've seen Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher mention as well. Are we all in agreement that he's not a flop? Because their arguments were terrible. Like, he hasn't had that much game time. Yeah, no shit in a sense.
The only flop thing about him is the amount of injuries he's had. But when he's actually played, I've liked him.
But it was quite unfortunate as well. But yeah, good we got that cleared.
Yeah, no, of course. Thiago Silva next. I will, and I know people might not like this, I will put him in keep, not necessarily must keep, because the man is nearly 39. I'm not going to say must keep for anyone at 39. So, but I still want to keep him. So hence why I will put him in keep. But your logic, would you even put him in must keep, or where would you place him?
I would like to keep him of every sense, but I think he's deserved in a sense. If he wants to end his days in Flamengo and feels like that's best for him, it's only out of respect for him I put him in keep. I would do everything I could to keep him, but I wouldn't want to, unhappily keep him here. So same applies. I think it's so important to have him, coming. You look at the center backs we have, Fofana, Badiashile, Colwell. I think you'd need someone to guide them. I wouldn't trust them to start in a grudge match, for example, for top four, where it's really on the line. I think you need someone in his mold to just carry them over and teach them a couple of things. So unless he really, really wants to go and will be unhappy if he stays.
He's already said, though, he's already confirmed he's staying. So maybe we just need maybe we need like another tier saying staying, because he's actually confirmed he's staying. So
yeah, I put him in staying, but rather than we also know a lot of these players will leave that maybe we don't want to leave, right? Kovacic. So I'm sure you would rather keep him than sell him, even though we know he will probably go. I think we'll stick to this. But Bertram, just confirm for me: would you put him in must keep or keep?
I'd put him in keep.
All right, Pice, would you agree, or would you put him in must keep?
I'm confused. He's just staying for me. Like I would, no, because I don't know. Like,
I mean, Reece James is staying in it, but we have to put him somewhere.
I don't know the difference between keep and like must keep for Silva though. Like I wouldn't let him go. So what is that? Must keep? I don't know.
Well, I guess if there was if you're really adamant, there's no way we should ever entertain allowing him to leave, that's must keep. If you're like, I want him to stay and I'm glad he is staying, that's keep. Yeah.
Probably keep then.
Fair enough. Glad we sorted that one out. And the next one is Trevor Chalobah. I'll keep mine to last this time. Pice, I'll let you go first. Where would you put Trev? Because I like him, but I'm still not. I still think with the amount of other players that we have, I'm not sure how we would even keep him and it be any use. So, but what about you though?
Yeah, he's in sell for me. He's not in must sell, but he's in sell. I think he'll leave as well. Like I think that's what's going to happen. We can get some decent money for him. 25, 30 million. It's pure profit. And I think, he's going to want to play as well, like regularly. He's still young. He's going to want to play regularly. And yeah, I think he's a sell. Reasons you've already said. I do rate him, but yeah, I mean, just prefer other centre-back options, to be fair. Like, maybe if we didn't have Colwell coming in, I'd say probably keep Chalobah as, like, the homegrown young centre-backs. I think that's important, but, Colwell is just levels, man. I'm sorry. Like, I've got even, you know what? I'd even go as far to say, like, maybe even he's one that not Strasbourg, but maybe he's even one you loan and then, like, see what happens next year if you really want to keep him, but I
potentially
feel like,
when Silva leaves.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, but
yeah, like he's what, 23, 24?
Yeah, it's not like he's 20, 21 anymore. He's young, but like, is he really? Like, I don't know, man.
23, and he turns 24 in July as well. So
yeah, I think it's a sell, but I do like him. I think he's underrated.
Yeah, I'm fully in agreement. But Bertram, you hinted earlier you would like to keep him, but then after that you said you're just realizing how many centre backs we have. But it's kind of, for me, it's between Koulibaly and Chalobah, because I think even for a back four, you should have 5 centre backs. Personally,
agree.
I've always believed that. But
sorry.
No, go on.
I struggle to see the benefit. I see one benefit in selling him, and that's the fact that he's homegrown. So we can, if we sell him for 30 mil, it's 30 mil on the books. But that being said, I have tremendous belief in Trev. I think what we saw last season was nigh on the Reece James, Mason Mount, acclimatization to the Premier League. I thought he was amazing those first couple of games, and he hadn't lost a game he played for us or started, I think, since the Brighton game this season, and that doesn't count. Nothing about the season counts for those stats. So I think that the cover he gives us. You hinted that he's not that young. Well, I still think 24-year-old center back who's played 2 seasons of football for us, even though his progression has been quite halted here. I see no real benefit in selling him. I think he's great cover for both right back. Even though we hinted at Gusto being here, it always just gives something to have. I think he could come in and compete, and I hope that he does stay because I see a lot of potential in him. I still have that mental image of Ronaldo not wanting to be covered by him at a corner, which it gives him a little bit. But I'd keep him. If he wants to leave, fair enough. But for me, he's in keep.
Okay. I would, unfortunately for you, Bertrand, put him in sell, and I understand your logic. Obviously, almost the same logic for different reasons. But when I'm like that extra option, that's what I would keep Koulibaly for. Also, someone said it in the chat. Sorry, can we really sell Koulibaly on that contract? Fair point. I don't see Koulibaly as particularly money hungry, but
can I just chip in? I think he's going to go back to Napoli because they're selling Kim and Jay. He's got a release clause.
It was very much. The brother was that the brother. The brother's the one who's played for Napoli.
What?
It's his brother that's played for Napoli.
No,
whose brother?
Whose brother?
Chalobah's brother. Chalobah's brother.
No.
You're talking about Koulibaly. Oh, yeah, okay.
But did Nate play for Napoli?
Yeah, he played for Napoli.
Big up, Nate. I miss him still. That backheel assist for Victor Moses in that contest
was so
absolutely gorgeous. I was really annoyed. I remember that when we sold him to Watford for 5 million. I was fuming. But hey, yeah. Like I say, now if Koulibaly was actually to leave, then I would be okay with keeping Chalobah, absolutely. But obviously, I have to look at each player individually rather than if this one leaves, then I'm keeping this one because then the list becomes a mess. Because if we have different opinions, how do we line that up, right? So, if Koulibaly is to leave, then I'm okay with Chalobah staying. But in general, I just think because similar to what we will talk about with Gallagher, even though I rate Chalobah much higher than Gallagher, he brings too much money to be a smart decision not to sell. That's my logic in the situation that we are in where we need to balance some books. Which is a bit unfortunate, and I do feel bad for him. And I wouldn't be up. Like if he did stay, I would actually be happy. If he did stay and we figured it out in financial situations with him staying, great, fantastic. I like him. But yeah, I would probably still put him in sell. Let's get to Mark Cucurella. I'm even tempted to put him in must sell, but I'm going to put him in sell. And not because I think he's actually that bad. Even though he's been this bad this season for the most part. But I just don't think how he's any use under Poch. Because Poch uses very attacking fullbacks on both sides. And that's not Cucurella's strength. And at left centre-back, we have Badiashile and we have Colwell. So he's not a necessary option there either. Therefore, if you find a way to sell him, I think you should sell him. Personally, for those reasons. Like I say, if we had a manager coming in that would play one defensive fullback, I think I would put Cucurella and keep him, give him another chance. But because I don't see him as being ever good as an offensive fullback, I don't see the point. And I would rather keep Ian Martin than Cucurella. And I know what we just were talking about with Koulibaly and Chalobah still applies, where the homegrown players, in a sense, gets you more money back. But still, in my book, we're already doing that with Chalobah. So on that one, we can keep Martin, who is much better as an attacking fullback, and let go of Cucurella. That's what I would say. Bertram, though, would you agree with that? I know you said earlier in terms of maybe we should give all of the guys like a second chance that have been here first season. But where would you put him?
I think me and Jay Quada in the chat have to exchange details because we might be the only 2 people who'd want to keep Cucurella. I would keep him. We can talk about Maatsen later, but I think he proved at Brighton he was a good
Martin's not
player.
this because it's only this season's squad.
Did go on the rate. Okay, well the thing is, I would almost sell Martin for some of the same reasons you'd sell Trevor Chalobah. I think homegrown as well. I believe he had a very good season for Burnley. I think they'd be open to taking him again. If you told me right now I'd have to trust one of them to play a 4-back system, or at least be a backup in it, I'd almost trust Cucurella. He doesn't have that much. I don't think he has that much of a problem being, or at least fighting for being a backup. I think we already have an attacking fullback in Ben Chilwell, a very attacking fullback as well. So it won't hurt to have someone who maybe has his forces somewhere else, who's very good defensively.
But Chile is quite injury prone though. So every time Chile isn't fit, we have to play someone who's not ideally suited to Poch's system. That doesn't sound ideal to me,
But I still think he's a good player, and he has played further up the pitch before, so I think he would still be able to give you something. He has played left midfielder for both Getafe, left wing
maybe
backs,
he's just not shown it, but to me, I don't think I've seen him play a good cross, and he's been here for a year, and that worries me.
You might be right. I think he did. He also had was it 1 goal and maybe 1 assist for Brighton? That might be wrong. He definitely only has 1 goal. I still think there's more to come
our
from
team
him,
that loves a goal from wing back. I mean,
I know, but I think I see. But the thing is with Martin, he'd almost need game time from the off to keep continuing his development. Because I think if you just look at the two players, I still think Cucurella is better than right now. With development, Martin could be clear of him, but looking at the factors that we would be able to balance the books more out if we sold Martin, someone who's proven it in the championship as well, I'd still give Cucurella a chance. Coming in, we have a Spanish-speaking coach coming in as well.
True.
I think it would give something to have a defensive fullback. Those are my 2 cents.
Okay, fair enough. So in keep for you then, I assume, not must keep.
Yeah, in keep.
Fair enough. Pice, you're having the decision again between sell and keep, because one put him there, one put him there. Where would you put Marco Cucurella?
For me, it's a sell depending on the offer. But what I will say is, I feel like he's going to be one of the ones that we're going to get stuck with, and eventually take a big loss on. I don't see who the hell buys him after the season he's had. I just don't see it. I don't see anyone coming in for him. Like Spanish clubs, like
Graham Potter at Nice, maybe.
I don't know, man. Like, I felt at times, even Graham Potter didn't have that affiliation he did with him when he was at Brighton here. So I don't know. I just feel like we're gonna get stuck with him. I feel like we'll probably sell Martin, and that will definitely rattle the fan base because he's definitely a prospect. I think we're gonna get stuck with Cucurella for another season or 2.
I do agree. If someone asked me what do I think will happen with Cucurella, I think he will stay. I think we will sell Ian Martin. But obviously, this was.
I think we'll get stuck with him though, is what I'm saying. I don't think we'll be able to sell him.
I don't really know what his wages are, and I don't think Marco Cucurella is the guy that would refuse to play for slightly less. And then it's just about how much of a loss are Chelsea willing to make on him. But I do. So it depends on that. We could have easily gotten stuck with Lukaku. We found a way to get him gone. So if we wanted to, I'm sure we could with Cucurella.
Nah, but Lukaku's comes with, for me, that's different because Lukaku comes with that background of 100 Premier League goals, international goal scorer. What is Cucurella before Chelsea? He played well for Brighton and he played for Getafe, but he doesn't
pretty much as much as Moises Caicedo right now, I would say, mate. And there's literally no difference to Cucurella before coming to Chelsea to what Moises Caicedo has done so far. I'll be honest, bro. Same thing.
Yeah, but Caicedo hasn't flopped yet for a big club.
No, it's true. It's true. But you will find someone, I think. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. It doesn't really matter, does it? But at the end of the day, we'll have to wait and see. It's okay, Ahmed. It's okay. Do what you want to do. Unfortunately, Bertram, you've unfortunately been outvoted on this one again. I'm sure it will happen the other way around on a number of occasions. Ben Chilwell. Go on.
It's becoming a theme of getting outvoted.
No. I'm sure it will be the other way around on a couple of these. Ben Chilwell, I feel like I'm going to be the one getting outvoted because I would go as far as putting him in must keep. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. I know a lot of people would be happy to sell him. I know a lot of people would maximum put him in keep, definitely not must keep. But I like him. I think even though he's not from Cobham, I think we're turning him into someone that really identifies with Chelsea, and especially with the whole ownership change, bringing in a Spurs manager. I think letting too many of those guys go that really identify with the club is is a serious concern for me. So yeah, I would keep Ben Chilwell, and I would even put him in must keep. It's okay if you guys don't, but I would. Pice, where would you put him?
He'd be in keep for me. I'm never going to turn down 65 million, 60 million for him. But
See, I would.
yeah, no, I
because
don't.
My realistic question would be, who do I replace him with, right? So,
do you really think
left back would I get that's as good or better that we realistically would be able to sign? So,
see, I still feel like a lot of our fans are living off his Tuchel form rather than his form.
But he's had an ACL since then, so there is a.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he's that level of player anymore. Like,
but he can be.
I still think he's good, but I don't think he's like, unsellable good like he was before. So I'd put him in keep, but I wouldn't, like a huge offer comes in, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. But if I asked you the question, if Chilwell were to be sold, who would you replace him with? Because, I mean, Isaac says Davies. There's not a chance Davies would come to us. There's not a chance. He can go to Real Madrid if he wants to. Like, why would he come to us? Like, the best ones, we're not going to get. So if I chill Chilwell, we just have no good left backs left. So that's why I would still say no.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the left backs are unrealistic to get, but actually, no, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. You guys are going to kill me.
Go on. Don't be shy.
Nah, you're going to kill me, man.
No, don't do it. Come on, bro. You got to do it now.
All right, I was going to say Joao Cancelo.
I mean, if possible, not a bad player, obviously. So I don't think it's as outrageous as you maybe thought it was, but just unlikely to be made possible, I guess. But I mean, if City were the guys to sign Chilwell, Bayern apparently can't afford Cancelo, so that would actually make Cancelo somewhat possible, I suppose. So
yeah, I don't know. I rate him very highly. I know he's not hasn't been the best defensively, and I want to learn a bit more about what's actually happened at Bayern because it seems like Bayern don't want him, and that's a bit weird. But
I just think they can't afford him, and Tuchel just doesn't like defenders that can't defend.
Yeah, I did see Matt Moore earlier said that Arsenal were interested in Cancelo, and I was just thinking him as an inverted left back with Zinchenko, that's going to be dangerous. It's dangerous.
Would you think? I mean, yeah.
But you're not worried about his attitude problems?
Than I would Cucurella, I'll say that. Bacham, go on.
Yeah, Tierney's decent.
I'd be worried about Cancelo's attitude problems. Something I didn't think he'd had. I would have taken him. This is something I would have taken before, but the attitude problems in two sides now, it's not ideal coming into a team like ours right now.
Maybe that's why Poch wants Lukaku, because obviously Poch is. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw with that. Nkunku liked a tweet saying Poch built a barbecue in the training ground and stuff with Spurs. Maybe he's maybe
see, when an Argentinian does that, I'm fully on board with it because these guys know how to cook some meat. So
I mean, maybe he feels like he can sort out the characters in the squad or the maybe bad eggs, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean maybe. Patrick, where would you put Chile? Must keep, sell. Where would you put him?
Out of fear of getting downvoted again, I'm going must keep as well. I agree with most of your points. I think it's both going to be very difficult to find someone of that quality. And I do agree he's been under par this season, but the ACL injury is down to most of it. The uncertainty, I think this season has to be written off for most of these players. It's very difficult. But I think just the character he really identifies with the club. I think he's a good character to have around, a hard worker, someone who has experience coming back from an injury as well. And I think he fits the mold of, he could copy what Danny Rose did, very good offensively. So I think you won't find anyone better for the price.
And better than Danny Rose, personally.
Exactly. And someone who has been here, someone who has won, I think he has that winning mentality that Tuchel provided into the team. So I think for me, definitely a must keep. You won't find a lot of players better. You won't find anyone realistically, that's for sure.
There you go. And I mean, no problem, mate. But appreciate the donation regardless. Boys, the City Madrid game kicks off in half an hour, and we've got a lot of players to go. So I will also try. Let's keep ourselves a little bit shorter. We wasted too much time on news again. I apologize. Let's get to Azpilicueta. He might stay, but to me, he is literally one of the first names that needs to get gone. First of all, we get Malagusto, so we have two right backs. We literally do not need Azpilicueta anymore. And if anything, he's stopping us from getting a good captain. So, yeah. Love you, Aspi. Appreciate all you've done for us and all the years here. And you were one of the best signings we've ever made in terms of value for money. but the time has come. The time has come 3 years ago, and unfortunately, the club always bottled it. But yeah, for me, clear must sell. Price?
Yeah, it's probably a must sell, though. It would be a free transfer, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, I know, but obviously I don't have enough tiers to have all stay and leave for free.
It would be a must sell.
Actually, would he leave for free? Because doesn't he still have 1 year left on a contract? Actually,
no, I'm pretty sure it's free.
Didn't he sign 2 years last year? I thought he did.
I think it was just a 1 year extension.
Okay, yeah, fair enough then. What was the one?
Regardless, just leave. In my opinion, must leave. Maybe I should have called him must leave. Patrick, do you agree, or do you think I'm a little bit too harsh?
Gone, move. Let's go to the next one. Respect him for everything. He should have almost gone last summer, if I'm honest.
Yes, exactly. Reece James, the most obvious of all of the players, must keep. I'm sure we're all in agreement, right? Not much to add to it. Sorry, I should have specified. Both Patrick, I'll start with you.
No one's telling Bruce.
Nope, move on.
There you go. And this Ben Chilwell, Lewis Hall. So again, this is not Ben Chilwell again. This is Lewis Hall. You just can't see it. To me, perfect, suited to go to Strasbourg. Anyone else in agreement? I mean, Strasbourg also means loan. Okay.
Yeah, loan. I'm not sure about Strasbourg, but loan.
You know what? I'll change it back to loan because otherwise,
I'd love to see Lewis Hall in how Loftus-Cheek went to Palace or something. I'd really like to see him in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. But then, what are we buying a second club for? I mean, but yeah, no, there you go. But Basham, you in agreement that Lewis Hall should go out on loan?
I think he should learn how to pronounce baguette. Send him to Strasbourg for a year. Great talent. Excited to see what he has coming.
Very nice. Dennis Zakaria. Don't dislike him, but 3 managers have chosen not to play him now. Thomas Tuchel apparently barely even knew who he was when he turned up. So, yeah, he won't stay, and in my opinion, he shouldn't stay. Even though the few games he did get to play, I was actually impressed and positively surprised by him. I mean, Frank ain't using him. Potter basically didn't use him, and Tuchel barely knew who he was when he turned up. So that tells me it's not what we need. Bertram agreed that he, again, obviously not sell because we're only signing him, but he should leave, no?
Yeah, he felt like a pretty decent character when he played, but we need to stop with these emergency deadline day. We know we need a midfielder. We've signed an emergency midfielder twice. Just get a good one now.
There you go.
For God's sake, yeah.
Yeah. Pice, you in agreement, or would you only put him in sell so that they're not extreme must be gone?
Either or, really. I think he's going to go back anyway, so it probably actually is in a must sell because it's happening almost so yeah.
It's a good point. Enzo Fernandez probably close second behind Reece James for me in terms of the ones that are not allowed to go anywhere. Pice, again, you agree, I assume?
Yeah, he's on a prison contract, so he's not leaving.
He will never be allowed to go anywhere again. Bacham, yeah, of course, Enzo Fernandez has to stay now.
He's gonna be so good. I can't wait to see him flourish. It's gonna be so good.
There you go. Now, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I'm very aware that at least Pice, maybe even Bertram, but most definitely the chat will disagree. I would put Ruben Loftus-Cheek in keep because so many other midfielders are leaving.
Why would I disagree with that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I like Ruben.
I disagree. But yeah, I would just keep him because I think he's a great squad option. I am very aware, though, that his contract, that his wages are high for someone that doesn't play all the time. But I personally believe that Ruben Loftus-Cheek, because he has 1 year left on his contract now, I personally believe that Ruben Loftus-Cheek would be willing to take a wage cut to stay. I think he would be okay to take it down to 100K or maybe to a games-based, incentivized contract where it's if you play most of the games in the season, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, then you get, paid well. But if you don't play regularly, you get paid a bit less. And I think he would accept that. Now, maybe I'm giving him a bit too much credit in his loyalty to Chelsea, but I think so. Hence why I would keep him. Bertram, would you agree? Would you sell? What would you do with Ruben? Loan. I think we're a bit past loaning Ruben out again, personally.
Yeah, well, you were never going to put him anywhere else, if we're honest.
No,
I was contemplating must keep. No, I think for the role he provides, for the price we get for him, we're not going to get anything better. I think we could, look to maybe buy someone else, give them minutes from next season on. But I definitely think for next season, I would definitely keep him. I think good squad option. I don't know if if he wanted to take a wage cut, but I know we're not in that many competitions next year, but for the amount of midfielders we're going to be letting go of, definitely someone we keep. Especially just for a year. We'll see what after that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, actually. Pice, you hinted that you won't disagree, so keep for you as well?
He actually probably surprisingly would be, but
if someone offered us 30 mil, I wouldn't say no to him going. I will be honest.
Yeah, no, I probably would keep him. To be honest, I probably would. I think he's very versatile, so yeah, I think he's worth keeping around. He's also a physical profile that we lack, so yeah, I would actually keep him because realistically, I actually think, you're talking about 30 mil. I think you probably only get offered probably 10, 15
Yeah,
mil
exactly, because he has only 1 year left, right? So
yeah, so I would actually keep him, to be fair. We can't sell every midfielder.
Exactly. Mateo Kovacic.
I'm leaving the stream. Goodbye.
See, for me, he's very if there was a non-loan option that's between sell and keep, where I'm I don't mind either way. I would be okay if he stays, but I would also be okay if he leaves. But the reports I've heard, and again, we can never be sure if those are true. If he doesn't want to stay here, I don't want him to stay here. Hence why I'm going to put him in sell. But it's not something extreme for me that he must go, and I wouldn't be upset if he did stay. But I just think he will leave, so hence why I will also put him in sell. Bacham, I'll let you go before we take it to Pice. Where would you put Kovacic?
I was hoping you'd take it to Pice before. I think the issue is he's a really, really good player, and there were times last season when I was watching him. I always couldn't believe the things he was doing in a proper team, under a proper manager. I think it's really difficult. I would keep him, mostly because I think if we sold him to City, we really, really, really regret it. I also think just the type of player he is, an amazing player, and someone who I think under a settled squad, we'd see a very good midfielder again. Especially now that we're not playing 5 at the back, so there is room for one more midfielder in a sense. So I would keep Mateo Kovacic. Or would I? Yeah, would I? If we play with 2 midfielders, if he wants to play a 4-2-3-1, I probably would say it depends on the formation he'd like to play, but no doubt he's a good player. No doubt. I think
even I agree with that. As much as he's had a bad season overall, I agree he's a good player.
His experience as well, isn't it?
Yes, it's also true. I just think if a player wants to leave, I'm not going to say I want to keep you.
Yeah, I mean, if he does genuinely, I don't know, but if he does want out the club, then you can't really keep a player like that. So
no, and you shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't keep someone that wants to leave. But I'm just scared of selling him to City or Man United or somewhere like that, because we all know his qualities. And what pisses me off is I'm not saying you guys, but people online oh, he's shit. He's not shit. He's had a shit season, fucking 20 other players. You know what I mean? Mount fanboys, they're no, we must keep Mount, even though he's been shit this season. When it's Kovacic, oh no, we must sell Kovacic. What the fuck? It doesn't make no sense.
Yeah, there you go. But would you put him in keep? I mean, if you do, you will win because you and Bertrand put him in keep. So
yeah, I would keep him. I would keep him, but
yeah, I know
it's a sell if he wants to actually leave. But I would be pissed if we sold to Premier League. Can Tuchel just come and buy him or something? So you know what I mean? Sell him to fucking Bayern. It'd be good for them.
There you go. I mean, guys, if you're upset at Kovacic being in keep, don't blame me. I put him in sell. Okay, don't come at me. But let's move on. Again, we need to hurry up. Carney Chukwuemeka. Obviously, I'm going to keep him, but I kind of want to loan him, if I'm honest, because I don't want to have another situation where he's basically not going to play all season long. And if Poch is going to play a 4-3-1, he's not a pivot player, and he's not going to play as a 10 with all the other players that will have in that position. So therefore, to me, he should go out on loan. That's what I'm going to say. Pice, where would you put Chukwuemeka? Would you keep or loan? I assume you're not going to sell.
No, I would loan him. I'd be fuming if we sold him, by the way. Would be fuming. He's such a good talent. I would loan him. Premier League loan as well.
Okay.
Definitely
I would be
Premier League
okay
level.
with Strasbourg as well, personally. But yeah, just because we need to make use of it, and he just fits that bill for me. But it doesn't really matter as long as you give him a good loan. But Bertram, loan or keep? Where would you put Chukwuemeka, or sell maybe?
I'd load him. I also think we owe him an apology, to be honest. I think the way we've
Absolutely.
treated him this season.
And now we've even stopped him from going to the under-21s under
Yeah,
20s World Cup because Coleman can't get in.
Bro,
if he doesn't
is
feature,
disgusting if he doesn't play him the next 3 games, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Bertram, you were trying to say anything more? Sorry.
I would loan him. I think what was the point in buying a player that young? We knew he wasn't going to be a first team player from start. I think there is potential, so I would definitely find a loan for him. I would even find it abroad. I think a loan for him abroad would suit him.
There you go. Fair enough. Let's get to N'Golo Kante. I'll keep myself to last here. Bertram, why don't you go first? Where would you put him? Keep. No.
I would keep N'Golo Kante.
Okay.
I would mostly because I think with some right fitness, the player he is as well on his day, up there with the best. I do respect his injury qualities. I wouldn't if we'd have to give him a bumper contract, we would give him somewhere near it. But as long as we're not taking like 500K, I think it's a good character to have around. And I hope if we play him in limited minutes, I think next season if we used him in like the big games where he'd have an impact. If we want to act like a top team, if the team needs to feel like they're going to be, compete for something, win something, and you look in and you see you have Kante, you're in with a fighting chance in any game. So I would keep him. I think he's, someone said earlier that Kava was one of our few Galacticos. I think Kante is our Galactico as it is right now. So I keep him.
Fair enough. No, sorry, guys, let's explain. There's 2 Ben Chilwells. One is down here and must keep here. And the other one is here in loan. That's because there's 2 Ben Chilwells. The second one acts as Lewis Hall. So just I should maybe clarify that a few times as we go on. But Pice, would you agree with Kante in keep?
Yeah. I feel like you're going last because you're going to sell him, but
we'll see.
I would keep him. I am getting a bit sick of his injury stuff, but I just, man. I don't know. I just can't imagine Chelsea without Kante. Like, for me, I've got to keep him. I can't.
Fair enough. I'm also going to leave him in keep. I mean, you guys want it anyway, but I'm also going to leave him in keep. But only just about. And this last injury now, this groin injury has annoyed me. I will be honest. And my only problem is that we're at a situation where he's in the last year of his contract, so he either extends the contract or leaves. If he had 2 years of a contract left, this wouldn't even be a debate. He would clearly be in keep. But because it's only 1 year left and we have to give him a contract extension, we're not sure what kind of contract he's going to accept. There is a part of me that says just let him go. He's injured all the time anyway. But yeah, like you say, I don't want him to go to a rival. I don't want him to come haunt us. So I'm going to stick him in keep. Conor Gallagher, must sell for me. Not because I dislike him that much or I don't rate him that much, but because, and I said this a few times on these streams, when I compare how much money you bring us with the value for our team, I think Conor Gallagher has the biggest value in selling, more than any other player on our whole squad. Well, maybe other than like Enzo Fernandez or something, but from the ones that are even debated to be leaving. I think he's literally the first one on this sheet that must go. We had 45 million offered for him in January. And since then, he's played more and played all right. So chances are his value, if anything, went up. So to me, he's an absolute must sell to balance the books. And yeah, I just don't think he's good enough to play regularly anyway. And why on earth would I have a player that's not playing regularly but worth 45, 50 million? Why on earth would I keep that? That's my logic. Hence why must sell. Pice, what about you?
Yeah, must sell. I don't really rate him, and we can get a lot.
I know you for different reasons to me, but same.
Yeah,
same,
must sell.
Yeah.
Must sell.
There you go. Bertram, you're very unhappy with us. Would you want to keep him?
No, I think Christian in the chat's going to be furious with me because I agree with you. But the issue is I really, really, really do like Conor Gallagher, and I do believe he really loves Chelsea as well. Almost to the extent that we do.
I believe that too.
And I think
I love Chelsea.
And we still don't want Pice playing for them.
No, but the physicality he brings, it really does give like a good fundamentally, he's almost the perfect player for us. But technically, he just lacks so far behind. And I think the midfield, given the players we've already kept, the midfielder that we are going to sign, he has to be sold, especially because he's a homegrown player. So the 40-45 mil will go directly into balancing the books. So it's almost like when you break up with someone, it's not you, it's me. It's a Chelsea problem with Gallagher.
Yeah. Well, and the him problem of not being good enough. If he was better, I wouldn't want to sell him.
The goal against Crystal Palace will forever, though, be
yeah. Unfortunately, was
always
the last good goal he scored. I know he scored a couple since then, but how many long shots has he been attempted since? 2. That's the sad thing. Why don't you shoot more? You got minutes now. But anyway, let's get to Mason Mount again. We need to keep this rolling. Sorry, guys. Pice, sorry.
So I was trying to dig at Graham
Potter.
I said, and Graham Potter didn't even celebrate.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But yeah, Mason Mount. I'm tempted to even say must keep. I know people disagree with that. But I'm putting him in keep because there is a chance he wants to leave, and so if he wants to leave, go. But I want to keep him because I think it's important to have people at the club that associate themselves with the club and identify with the club, and I think he does. But I obviously understand the issues of having Nkunku. What if we keep Felix? I still believe that it's a case of if Mount signs a contract, we will not sign Felix. If Mount leaves, we will sign Felix. I believe that's how it goes. And I think the order for Chelsea is Mount first, then Felix. I could be wrong. It's just my opinion, but I think that, especially with Poch now. But yeah, so I will put him in keep, but I'll see what you guys think about him. Would you even put him in must keep, or where would you put Mason Mount?
Keep. The only thing is I would be desperate for us to keep him because I really believe he's a good player, and almost many of the same things apply with Conor Gallagher, a player who very versatile, who identifies with Chelsea. That being said, if someone offered us 100 mil for him, or even the likes of 80, 90 mil, I think we would have to take it. But
yeah, no, I agree with that.
I'm extremely frustrated.
If it's Liverpool or Arsenal. Honestly, for me, I wouldn't even sell him to any Prem team. If he goes to Bayern or, I think Bayern, but if he goes to Bayern or Juve would be my ideal club for him to go to. I really hope he goes to Juve. If
he'd be great in the Liverpool side. I think he would. But I think we should do everything we can to keep him. And I think Pochettino would be dumb not to because of his versatility across the front line mostly. And he has been terrible this season. He's been absolutely dreadful. But that last season, the goal against Madrid, for example, just for an example, world class. So for me, I would keep him unless we get a large fee, or he desperately wants to move.
Yes, fair play. And Frank Lampard with a CK, yes, Nkunku is a sure deal. Sorry, Pice. You will struggle to change it now, but where would you put Mason?
Oh, this is, I could spend like 20 minutes talking about reasons for and against. I probably would just put him in keep just because, again, I think it's important to have these players. And I think selling him to a rival could be a mistake. I definitely don't rate him as highly as you guys do, but I would keep him. I just struggle to understand where he starts. That's all. I always have struggled in a 4-2-3-1 with the players we've got. I don't see where he starts, so that's my only concern.
I do see that, but
and also I think that's why we're not offering him stupid wages as well.
A lot less stupid than Felix's wages and does a lot more. So swings and roundabouts. That one. Sorry, that was an unnecessary dig. I apologize. But yeah, we'll keep him in keep, and let's go to Raheem Sterling. That last game and that second goal, and I know I shouldn't be as fickle as judging it by one goal, but I slightly changed my mind because I'm like, I saw a glimpse, but I would still not be upset if he left. I still wouldn't. There's no chance anyone will buy him with his ridiculous wages. There's no way anyone is stupid enough to take him from us. So he will stay, but I would put him in sell. Price, where would you put him? Just about, by the way. I wouldn't be upset if he was.
I'd personally put him in keep. I'd give him one more season.
That's also fair.
I think he's earned it over his career, unlike maybe a Cucurella or. I mean, you could say that about Koulibaly as well, but I think Koulibaly not Premier League proven. I just
But
worry.
that's my point, though. Koulibaly has the excuse of not being Premier League proven, so he has the excuse of a bad
Yeah,
season.
but he's also
Sterling
like
is Premier League proven and was
he's
still
he's also so old, and I think with our like
is
all
Sterling basically the same age.
was
No,
Koulibaly
he's
32?
28. No, 28.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Koulibaly is, I think.
Well, I was just going to say quickly about Koulibaly because I know we'll run out of time, but Koulibaly, all that our fans say for keeping him is experience. Name me one game this season he's shown any leadership or experience at the back. That is what worries me.
But it's not just on the pitch when experience matters. It's in preparation for games. It's in
But he's a
dealing
quiet
with
guy,
a bad
though.
result.
Like,
There's
I
a lot
knew-
of different things where experience matters than just on the pitch.
But he's not a talkative guy. I knew that once I spoke
True.
to Marco Messina last summer, the Italian guy. He was like Koulibaly because I had this wrong assumption that he was a very like big leader, like talkative, that type of thing. Marco told me he was like, no, he's
quiet,
really
isn't he?
shy.
Yeah.
He's really shy. I was like, what?
It's like Kante. Kante doesn't count as a leader, but Kante does count as experience. So I never said Koulibaly's a leader, by the way. I only said experience. But no, fair. And it's okay. And if Bertram swaps Sterling to keep now, I have no problem with that. Bertram, are you?
I would keep him. I think we haven't seen the best from him yet.
No, I agree with that. I just hope we ever do. That's what
I think we will. I think we.
ever will.
I strongly believe we will.
Okay. I hope you're right. Of course.
Me
But
too.
then I would much rather see Mudryk succeed than Sterling. And I see chances of both succeeding at the same time. I see quite slim because Sterling also for us seems to work better on the left than on the right. But Hakim Ziyech, close second after Conor Gallagher on being first name on the must-sell list for me. Bertram, do you agree?
Yeah.
Not necessarily in the order, but in general, where he has to go.
Goodbye, Hakim.
There you go. Pice, you as well, of course.
Yeah, bye.
There you go. And now this one is a bit quicker. Mudryk, we just signed him 6 months ago for, well, up to potentially 100 million euros. It probably won't be looking at it at the moment. But yeah, must keep for me. Pice for you?
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. And Bertram as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Christian Pulisic. I wouldn't mind keeping Pulisic as a backup, but I don't think he wants to.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
therefore, I also feel bad for him. Now, obviously, I don't. Unless if this whole story that he apparently told the kid to move out the way or whatever, if that's true, sure, that's bad. But all of us have had a bad day, and I mean, so one example, yeah, I just don't want to just take some random person's word for it off from Instagram. I think that's a bit too easy. But yeah, should probably go. Just we're not gonna get happy together. We're not gonna get happy with him. He's not gonna get happy with us. So it's just best. I just hope we get a little bit of money, and that's what I have a few fears of. But hey, still has to be in sell for me. Bertram, do you agree, or does he even go must sell for you potentially?
Must sell. Thank you. Goodbye. We'll never forget.
Interesting that, like you like so many players, but that you seemingly not such a fan of Pulisic. I wouldn't have expected that, to be honest. But fair play. Pice, keep sell or must sell for you? I assume it's between those two.
I would go sell. I wouldn't like if Sterling was sold, I would then keep Pulisic. But
I agree.
I would go sell. But I do think he's going to be one of the ones though that we're like, oh, that was in a couple of years' time, we're going to be like, yeah, we signed him for too cheap. But it's just a situation right now. So
it is what it is. And also, isn't he going into the last year of his contract now as well?
Not sure about that, but yeah,
I'm not 100% sure either. But while I check that out, Noni Madueke and Bertram must keep because he signed so recently, I assume.
Must keep.
Yeah, must keep. Aubameyang's very simple as well. He's going to go.
I'm just trying to get up the Pulisic thing where how long his contract is left. But yeah, Noni must keep. And actually changed my mind. Before Gallagher, before Ziyech, Aubameyang is the first one that needs to get out the door. The very first one.
But respect Birds too. He hasn't kicked up a fuss. And in this modern world, you can't always expect that.
It's true, actually. But at the same time, even Ziyech hasn't kicked up a fuss. And what happened to him was much worse. So
Ziyech looks like he's kicked up a fuss. A big difference. Also does it.
Yeah, but that's just because we've never seen Aubameyang. When I see him play against fucking Arsenal, he doesn't look any different.
Nothing personal.
Yeah, there you go. I quite like it, Bertram. I will read the full thing of that in just a second. Next one, I assume we're all in agreement, right? But Pice on Aubameyang?
Yeah.
There you go. So when does his contract end? Yes, his contract expires June 30th, 2024, meaning 1 year left on his contract. So yeah, Pulisic must certainly clear. But Basham, of course, has agreed as well. And the next one is Armando Broja. I will put him in keep. I think after the bad injury, I think he absolutely deserves another one, probably even 2 seasons in my mind, because I think we could be talking very differently about Armando Broja right now if he didn't pick up that injury with this second half of the season we've had, with Aubameyang not being liked and wanted. He would have played a lot, and I think it would have been good for us personally. I know he didn't always look amazing when he played earlier in the season, but I also think under Poch he will do very well, and therefore Broja goes in keep for me. What about you, Bacham?
I would keep him. With the only precaution being his injury. I think his unimpressed nature, and where he just smashed into people, and I think it's refreshing to have that in training as well. Whichever striker we have needs also to feel someone breathing down their neck, and just by the physical size of Broja and the fact that he always just looks like he doesn't want to do anything else other than score and play, I can respect. So I want to keep him and not loan him out.
Fair enough. Next one. David Dacho Fofana. See, for him, I really created this Strasbourg thing because honestly, even a loan to me is being nice to how pointless I find the signing. So the only point I see is Strasbourg. Even a normal loan, I would even find utterly pointless. But yeah, Strasbourg loan, one of those two most certainly shouldn't be in the squad, in my opinion. Bajam, do you agree?
I think I'd give him preseason and the first couple of games. I see something there, and I think he deserves the chance to prove himself under Poch. But I think a loan is probably most likely. But I think Carney and Lewis Hall I would loan just straight off the back. But I'd give him the chance to prove himself.
Okay. So keep for you, not loan.
I would put him in loan. Put him in loan.
Pice, what about you?
Yeah, definite loan for me.
Fair enough. And now 2 more spicy ones. We'll do Kai Havertz first.
Freiburg.
Freiburg, my God. It depends on who else leaves, really, for me. Because say Mount leaves, and even if Mount leaves, would I rather keep Havertz than have Felix? I put him in sell, but people know I like him. So if he was to stay, I wouldn't be upset about it. But he's not developed the way we would have hoped. Apparently, he's not that happy here anymore either. Again, it's media talk, so who knows how true, but still. So I will put him in sell. But it's also slightly hurts me because I love him for winning us the Champions League. And I've wanted to have a framed Havertz shirt here for a while, but unfortunately getting things framed and look nice and not just all creased and stuff, it's not as easy when you're outside of the UK where hanging shirts up is a common thing. Here, this is not as common, so it's much more difficult. Get it done somewhere. But yeah, hey, sell it shall be. Bacham, where would you put Kai?
Must sell.
Fair.
I cut my losses with him. I think the experiment has failed, and I'm tired of seeing him play because I've struggled to see what he offers. I think, as Logic just said, he's living on one goal. I will forever, I've never screamed that much at a Chelsea game as that goal, and I will always love him for it. And he was great in that game. But thank you. We have to sell him. We get a decent fee for him as well. Send him to Bayern. He's going to be good. He's going to be very good. Score some goals. We're not going to regret it. Same with Timo Werner. Sell him. Thank you.
Fair enough. Pice, would you also put him in must sell, or does it only make sell for you?
Must sell.
Bloody hell. You guys have put him in the same thing as fucking Aubameyang. I feel disgraced. But anyway, this is how democracy works. So fair enough. I'll let you have it. And let's finish it off because the other game is literally kicked off. So we're rounding it out ASAP. Joao Felix, Pice, I'll let you go first. Keep, must keep.
I would keep him if it's a loan again.
So we're not putting him in loan. But okay, keep for you. I understand. I would love for you to elaborate, but we don't have that time. So
yeah, we don't have time. Next stream.
Exactly. So I'll go to Badger. Where would you put him?
If we keep Mount, I'd let Felix go. I think he'd be very good again in a settled team. But right now, I can't bear watching him heel flick to another opposition player. Good idea, not happening. So it would all depend on Mount, because we can't have him, Mount, and Nkunku, and a striker, and all the others. So it would depend on that. So wherever you put him there, that'd be my answer. Put him in sell. Let's put some spice into it. I'll put him.
Obviously we're not selling him because we don't own him, but we understand what that means still. I would put him there too. I mean, he has less expected assists than Badiashile. That says enough. I know Pice, you said on Twitter he's not a striker, he's a 10, but is he even a striker? Is he even a 10? Most certainly not a creative one. That's for sure. He's a very good player, and please don't get me wrong, and don't think I'm trying to slag him off. I'm not. He's a very good player. I'm just not sure he's the kind of player that Chelsea currently lack and need. That's kind of my issue. And I also think he's a player. I think he's a player that only works in a team like PSG, maybe prime Barcelona. Those kinds of teams, Joao Felix can be great in. Most other teams, you will always, in my opinion, lack a little something, because there's clearly all the talent there. But yeah, and he's the second striker, yeah. But the problem is we've signed Nkunku, who also is a second striker, and Nkunku is already here on a permanent.
You could debate about Felix for hours, honestly, in his
we could, absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is this is not on Felix, this is not on Nkunku, this is on our stupid board for deciding to loan Felix after already having permanently signed Nkunku. That was the stupid part. We should have just not loaned Felix, because then we wouldn't have been in this situation. And let's be honest, he didn't do nothing for us that's useful. He didn't gain us any extra points. He didn't gain us any extra league positions. He didn't help us anything in the Champions League. Nothing. So we should have just saved ourselves those 11 million. That's what we should have done, in my opinion. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, because the game's already kicked off, we're going to round this out. We're going to maybe elaborate a little bit more in the future. But yeah, if you're still here, appreciate you very much. Subscribe if you haven't already. Massively appreciate it. Hit that like button on your way out. Please check out Pice's website, londonsfirst.com. Please check out Pice and Bircham on Twitter. Their links are down in the description below. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Come on, Madrid. Please beat City. And we'll see you next time.